I've already done one video about making these market bags, or whatever you want to call them, from large bags, like the 50-pound bags of sunflower seeds for birds, or the dog food bags, the really large bags. Well, the smaller bags present an entirely different problem for turning them into market bags, and they do make nice market bags. For one thing, sometimes they come with labels. Now, I've already pulled most of the paper that I could get off of this label, and I know you can buy some stuff to take the labels off, but I already have something that works on hand, so I just keep it for that purpose, and also for my nails. It's professional nail remover polish. It's 100% pure acetone, and it'll take this off in no time flat. Just a little bit on a cotton ball, recap it quickly because it is potent stuff, and just dab a little bit on that paper. And it should just slip up like that. Now, I checked the print on here first. Some of your print will come off with this acetone. Use something else, or just pick it off by hand. But this usually takes it off rather quickly. I think I got this nail polish remover at CVS. You can probably get it at most drugstores. I don't think you will find it at Walmart, though. And then you can clean up any leftover with the acetone that you have left. Go. All done. Now, the bag presents a problem in the fact that it's long and skinny. It comes with handles. Now, I could use these handles, but I don't think they will hold up well. So, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut the top off. Now, that means I lose part of my bag, but that's okay. What we're going to do is we want to catch this much of the bag, so we'll just leave a little bit of the perforated stitches maybe, and line up our ruler about where we want to cut it, just so we get it fairly even with the print. If it's a little off with the bag, that's okay, but it will drive you crazy if the print is off. There we go. Now, we're going to discard this part. Unfortunately, I don't know of any way to use it. There we go. Now, all I'm going to do now is just turn it under, probably about that much, so I can see the Jasmine Rice logo. Let me get my workspace cleaned off a little bit. Now, because this is a little bag, I'm not going to even bother pinning it. I'm just going to lay it down, finger press it, and stitch it. We're going to stitch right here first, right on the edge, and then we're going to stitch in a little ways. Please note that I have changed the stitch length to a rather long stitch. We don't want to put too many perforations in this fabric. I'll finish this and be right back. Now, that's finished. Let's do our second row of stitches, and I'll probably follow the perfs here. I'll finish this and be back. Now, that's done. We need to remove the stitching at the bottom, or we can just cut it off, because we're going to take our handles from the bottom. So we probably want to leave as much of this as possible. And I found that if one side doesn't come undone, the other side will. So just pick it a little bit. See if you can get it to undo. Oh, I think we got the wrong side. Let's try the other side. There we go. 1, 2. Yep. It only works from one side, not the other. So if one side doesn't work, try the other side. You can study it for a while and figure it out, but it's just easier to try it. Okay. Now, we want a handle about like here. We want to look at where our bag is going to sit. It'd be nice if it sits about there. We can probably cut this about right in here and still have enough for our handles. We'll have a little excess down here. So I'm going to put my... Had a little mishap with my coffee cup. It's cleaned up now. We probably want it about right there. Can you see that? That'll give us a good deal of room for a handle. And we should get 2 of them. So I'm just going to mark it like that. I found that this is really the easiest way to go. The rule of thumb is don't have your coffee cup nearby when you're trying to shoot a video. Okay, we'll set that aside for our handles. Now what we need to do is turn it inside out. Now, you can find the little creases where this bag was originally folded, only we're going to fold it that way. There we go. Okay, those would have been the ones that came in like this. Okay, I'm going to pin it in the middle so it stays flat for me. And I'm going to sew 2 lines, 2 across. And I'll do that and be right back. Now, this second line is... Okay, we finished the first seam and we want to sew just right beside it. Not on it particularly, but beside it. That second seam is just to make me feel more comfortable with the bag. notice that I didn't backstitch that edge. I'm going to cut that off so I don't need to bother backstitching it. Now, we're going to box the corners. And to box the corners, we're going to carefully open our seam up with our hands. And that little fold that we found earlier, we're going to lay it right on that seam. Like that. And we're going to pin it to make sure it stays there. Make sure we got, well, we're a little off. Let's straighten that up. Right on. Now, what we want to do is we want to make this a box. And the easiest way I have of making it a box, I got coffee on this too, is to lay my little tool here. And I figure that about 5 inches on this particular one is probably about right. So I want 5 inches across the bottom. I don't want it too big or it'll be a real short squatty bag, and I don't want it too tall or it won't sit up neatly when I'm trying to load it at the store. Anyway, so you just line this line up on one edge and move it up and down until you get the 5-inch mark. And we're going to mark that. And then we're going to check ourselves. All right. Now, we should have the same distance here. Right here we have approximately 3 and a little over a half. And here we have 3 and a little over a half. So we're fine. Now we're going to sew it twice. We're going to sew it twice. We're going to back stitch this one because we want the corners to hold nicely. And because it's just easier to go using my back stitch on my machine, I'm just going to stitch it back close to that original stitched line and call it done. Okay. Now, I'm going to do the other one the same way. You want to make sure that the seam on the bottom lays in the same direction. Otherwise, it'll twist funny and it won't sit well. A little bit off. Let's try it again. There we go. Again, we want 5 inches. Which you can read whether this is right side up or wrong side up. Mark it. And just to make sure, it should be 3 1/2 and a jiggle, and it is. And it is. I see that. Just to check to make sure that they're approximately the same, and as you can see they are. Now I'm going to trim it. I'm going to give myself a good 1/2 inch probably, maybe 3/4, not 3/4 but 3/8. I just don't like this extra fabric on the inside, that's all. Now it's just a matter of turning it out, and we're going to make sure these corners turn nicely. corner turned nicely. This corner turned nicely. Let's straighten that up. The nice thing about these bags is they're stiff, which makes loading them at the store very easy. That corner came out nicely. Let's get the, well, that wasn't the corner, was it? Okay, let's get the next one. Ah, there we go. There we go. There we are. Open the bag up fully because we're going to measure for its handles next. Open it up. All right. Now, those little creases that we use to guide the bottom, we're going to find them at the top. And we're going to match them up side to side, like that. Like that, like that. And we're going to put a pin there so that we know the middle, okay? That's the middle of one side. Let's find the middle of the other side. All right. Okay, on this bag, because it is a little bit smaller than my other bags, let's make sure, make sure we got those in the middle. Well, they didn't quite go in the middle, did they? How did we do that? Let's try it again. We must have gotten the wrong seam lined up. And I would say we did. And they were both off. Okay, now let's check it. Go. There we go. Yep. We need to mark our position for our handles, and we want about 4.5 inches between the handles. If it's more, it'll be too close to the outside. If it's less, it'll be hard to get a hold of. So about 4.5 should do it. So we take our tool here and we line it up with the 2 1/4 mark, okay? And we put a little dingy mark there. Ignore that one. And then we come over here and we want to make it, the other mark should be at the 4.5, because 2 1/4 plus 2 1/4 is 4.5. And we can check ourselves. Okay, that is 2 1/4. And that is 2 1/4. All right. Now we need to make our handles. Okay, this is the piece we cut off from the bottom. As you can see, this bag is seamed on either side. Some of the larger bags only have one seam in them, but this one's seamed on both sides. I think they just kind of heat it maybe to seam it. And we're going to cut that little spot off. And apparently this one wasn't heated on both sides. We're going to cut that, so we should have 2 handles ready to go. Now, we probably have more fabric here than we need. We don't want a huge handle. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut the bottom off, okay, where that was first turned up. Can you see where it was first turned up? Just going to cut that off, because we don't need that big of a handle. We're going to turn about a third of the handle this way, like that. Okay, and just finger press it down. If you have to, you can pin it. And then we're going to fold the other side up so that we close over that area that was stitched. Now, we're only going to sew right here on the edge to hold it down. I'll do that and be right back. Okay, that's done. Looks very nice. And now we're going to sew along the other side. I'll finish that and be right back. One handle finished. I'll finish the other handle and be right back. All right, we have our two handles. Now let's attach them. We're going to sew the handles on the inside. So we need to find our little mark. Here's one of them. And we want to set our handle so that it's this way. Okay? I just like the seam on the inside and not on the outside. So we're going to place it like this. Okay? I'm going to hold that there, and I'm going to flip it over. And I'm going to make sure I catch that little mark on the outside of the little mark. Okay? And I want it about that much. Now that goes where I wanted it, and it is. Now I'm going to sew across. That way it'll anchor it and it'll keep it from slipping. And then I'm going to sew diagonally. Then I'm going to sew across the bottom, and then I'm going to do it diagonally. Then I'm going to go down one side, across the bottom again, up the other side, and across the top again. That way I'll have at least 6 rows of stitches to hold this handle in place. I'll do that. You can watch me. Now, notice that I don't have to twist this thing all the way around. My machine does a back stitch. Yeah, I think you can see it. So what I do is I line my presser foot up with the corner that I'm aiming for and just stitch backwards. These little bags are a pain to handle because they're so stiff. Now I'm going to stitch across the bottom. Now just twist it. Come up the other diagonal. Okay, now I'm just going to straighten it up, and I'm going to go backwards again. Down to one side, across the bottom, up the other side, and back to where I started by going backwards to the start point. Here we go. One handle attached. Now I need to attach the other side. Same way. I'm going to adjust it. Now I'm just going to eyeball the length that I put in on the inside. Make sure it's about the same all the way around. Now, you can't see it. I have 2 marks here, but it's the shorter one. Right there it is, okay? I'm going to pin it, and I have this one and 2 more to do, and I'll be right back. Well, I have all handles done, and it's just a matter of trimming any stitches that I don't want to show. Anyway, so there's our little bag. nice and tidy. The little bag came with one of these, and I was tempted to put that on there, but not for a market bag. It's kind of cute though, so, because this is from Taiwan. I think it's from Taiwan. Where's it from? Anyway, it's a cute little bag, and it will get some use. You can use these, like I said, for taking to the store to fill with whatever you buy, or you can use it for your knitting, or you can use it for the kids in the back of the vehicle and put their snacks and stuff in there, and if they make a mess of it, it's plastic. Okay, you can wipe it clean, take it to the beach and put your wet clothes in it. Anyway, it's up to you how you want to use the bags, and when the bag becomes ratty and no longer usable, discard it. This is a recycled bag. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Like and subscribe.